Shay was saying there. We normally associate UAP activity and UAP sightings primarily visually, and if we're lucky, we can capture digital photos or digital video. But there are also, and it's a little less well known, but I think it's getting better known, is another detection way besides visually or by hearing is electronic means and by electronic sensing devices. So what I wanted to do today is just go over some of the consumer grade, what we might want to call consumer grade sensing devices that are relatively inexpensive, that everybody could have that has an interest in this at their house. It's another way to verify if you see an anomaly in the sky visually or near the ground or whatever. This is another way to actually capture some data on it and to kind of confirm what you're actually seeing. There's been a number of electromagnetic, magnetic, and gravitational anomalies associated with UAPs, and it's been so long now. One of the groundbreaking studies was in 1988. So it's been a long time that we've gathered a lot of data on electromagnetic anomalies associated with UAP sightings. So this is a way to sense those for yourself. You don't have to rely on some other agency. You can have these devices at home if you see something. Okay, so yeah, so these are all under $300. Most of them are much less than that. They provide 24/7 monitoring. And the newest ones, it's very interesting, they use social media and notification to you and to social media, and even via your phone now, on apps on your phone, to get a wide area involved. And if you have friends or whatever, they can look up, if you receive an alert, they can look up along with you to verify if there's an anomaly in the sky. So like I said, there's been hundreds of documented EM, we'll call this EM, it's electromagnetic disturbance. There's been hundreds and hundreds of these well documented. So I think it's fair to say scientifically that there is a direct connection between electromagnetic disturbance on the ground involving either machinery, electronics, or human beings and UAPs. I think it's definitive. They have enough data on that. Normally there's a magnetic disturbance, there can be a radio frequency disturbance, and gravimetric disturbance. And the best, and I'll show you examples, but the best sensing devices now have all three of those as circuitry and a way to detect any one of those or all three at the same time. You can see normally compass deviations, magnetic deviations, milligauss irregularities is what it's measured in, and usually it's plus or minus about 3 degrees. If you looked at a compass at the same time you had an anomaly in the sky, deviation would usually go from about 3 to about 5 degrees on the compass. Okay? Radio frequencies usually up in the gigahertz range. 1.5 to 1.7 gigahertz usually is the range of which these, whatever their propulsion system is or whatever is causing that, that's usually the range of RF disturbance. So quite high frequency, what we consider to be microwave. Okay? And then there are gravitational anomalies too. So what's great about this is it's still burgeoning. It's still coming, maturing. I don't think it's matured. We could call it matured yet. And when we go through the sensors, I'll show you. It's that social interaction, the activation network via email and online, visually online, and you can see these things. So the first one, this is kind of the old man of the group here, or old lady of the group. It's called a MADAR. This is the unit right here. This is a MADAR 3. It's actually pretty sophisticated. It runs on a Raspberry Pi. It's got a number of inputs to it, but what's important, it has a number of outputs to it. So this can trigger a visual alarm. It can trigger an auditory alarm. It also automatically, it's connected via Wi-Fi to whatever your Wi-Fi signal is. And then it also alerts via Wi-Fi to a central monitoring station back and down in the lower 48. Okay? That one's called the Madar Data Probe is what it's called. Fran Ridge, who was the guy that invented this and perfected it over many, many years, just passed away in January. So, but they're still going. The Madar, I checked in with them last week, and they're still going, and they're still monitoring all the systems and everything else. So, good on them. This was developed actually a long time. This actually, if you see pictures in the 1960s of when Fran first started to develop this, it's an entire room full of computers and sensors and everything else, and it's now this big. You can stick it in your pocket. This monitors about 15 times per second on any anomaly, gravimetric, RF, and well, primarily that, magnetic. And about every 60 seconds, it will tick over that data on via Wi-Fi to the main servers. You can pull up the main servers at any time and see. If you click on one of these, this is not the actual map, but if you go online and you click on one, you can see all the data. And if it turns red, these are offline. The ones that are not blue are offline. You can see my house right there. It's 385. But you can get their data directly. So if one goes into alert, this turns red. Their little indicator icon turns red. You can click on that and you can see exactly what's going on. So kind of interesting. 170 plus global nodes right now. And I think that's probably one of the more sophisticated ones for consumer grade. This is about $240, $250 with shipping. But it's quite the machine. It's got a lot of capabilities in it. So let me talk about another couple of them. Here's one that's fairly popular right now. It's called the UFO Sense. This is it here. Just a small black box device. Pretty much the same capability as this. This one though is really going after the social interaction. They're on online all the time. They have meetings online every week on Tuesdays. That I participated in a number of those. That's pretty interesting. And this really gets into, if this thing goes off, first of all, it's very similar to this, sends an alert out. And anybody that has one of these, now Alaska is a little different because we're so far spread out, but in the lower 48, if you have a cluster of people that have these within, say, a 50-mile radius, or that's pretty standard, 100-mile radius, they also can get an alert too. And that way they know to go out, look, scan the sky, see what they can see if their units are having any returns. And it's a pretty interesting way. That's not exactly how the Madar works. This is more of a socially interactive social network that they have set up. Still fairly new, they're still growing a lot, but shows quite a bit of promise. That's called a UFO Sense Unit. John and EJ are the developers of that, I think John primarily, and they're online all the time. There's all kinds of stuff that they're doing all the time, so really great group, very friendly. Any questions, I've asked them really dumb questions and they come right back and give me good answers. So there's another one called Images SI, and this is from Amazon. I would say that is more of a, well, let's go back a little bit. I don't want to get ahead of myself. This is from UFO Track, is actually their Patreon and their website name is UFO Track. All of these monitor 24/7. And this is a pretty simple one. It plugs in, connects to home Wi-Fi, and it's very sensitive. The great thing about this one though is it's $100. So it's like less than half the cost of this one. And I think, capability-wise, I think this one is a little more sensitive to anomalies, but this one does a pretty good job. And that's not a bad, and for $100, it's one of the cheapest ones you can get. Okay, this one is called, the next one, and I'll get back to the one you can get on Amazon. I don't really, the specs on that one are very minimal, very minimum sensitivity. It's more of a beginner, kind of an entry level. It's less than $100. I'll show you here in a minute. But for anybody relatively serious about having a good detection capability, I would definitely steer you towards the Spice, the one on Amazon. This is a new one though. This one's called, and I haven't researched this one too much. I don't have one yet. I'll probably get one. It's called an ET302W UAP detector. William De Piola, I think that's DiPiola, is how you pronounce it. He's the inventor. This one has pretty impressive sensitivity, that's what we're all about, is sensitivity. If we had more people here, probably you'd get a question, I would sure get a question on how far these things can detect. What's the detection range? And my answer would be, it's the detection range based upon what the UAP vehicle puts out. And that's how far the range could be. It could be anywhere from 100 feet to miles. Depends on the size of the craft, depends on what kind of disruption and what kind of general field is around the craft. So there's really not a good answer to that, I guess is the bottom line. They will detect, if it's in range, whatever the vehicle might be, I'm pretty confident that these will certainly detect the anomaly. This one has the ET302W has similar detection or sensitivity to the MADAR unit. The thing about this one though is it interfaces with your phone. So you can get, it's an app, basically an app for your phone. So you can get a tremendous amount of information directly on your phone instead of having to have a computer or a desktop nearby to get the information. So that's one of the great things about this. Again, relatively new. Let me give you a comparison here. If you look at the chart, you can see some of the comparison and cost. The Images SI unit, again, is what I would consider as a very beginning basic unit on Amazon. That's a current price. I checked all these prices. They are current. So if you're, the more serious investigators or enthusiasts may go for the MADAR 3 and the UAP, the 302. But I think bang for the buck, and if you put the detection capabilities against the other two, I think this is probably your value winner right here, is the UFO Sense device. It has a very good sensitivity, but a low price point. So, okay. So the bottom line with all these is it's another way to detect UAP activity, UFO activity, besides just visually or with a camera. And it also verifies if you have seen something, and you also get data, and that's what the holy grail is for all of this. We see it visually, we capture it visually, and also have the data to back that up as an anomaly backed up by scientific data. That's what we're really after, okay? So that's what I use it for. And mine are right next to Greeley, and we watch Greeley, and the sky's above Greeley all the time. Mount Hayes is another one that seems to be a hot spot for UFO activity. I don't know why. This is the contact info for each of the sites and for purchase of each of the units. Now, there are some other units, but for consumer grade, these are kind of the standard ones for consumer grade. Of course, that one, the 302, is relatively new. There are much higher sensitive devices, but they start to get into the laboratory realm, and they get to be very expensive very quickly. So, okay. And thank you. Are there any questions?